Welcome to I Heart Geek.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. Woo!
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about episode 5 and 6 of Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm your really annoying host, Courtney, and with me tonight, as always on our Ms. Marvel shows, are Kevin, Tyler, and Blaze. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hey,
Yay. So
are we going to talk about it? Are we going to say the word right now?
No,
We
no,
gotta wait?
no,
We gotta wait?
no.
All right.
We
Let's
start
wait,
talking
let's
about
wait.
it now. We
We're
won't
gonna
talk about
wait.
anything
Well,
else for the rest of the
we won't talk
episode.
about anything else. So, for those of you who have watched episode 5 and 6 of Miss Marvel, which is pretty much probably everybody at this point in time, we will talk about what you want us to talk about in a little bit. But first, we're going to talk about the other stuff that happens. And then we'll talk about that and a few other things that showed up that we all really enjoyed. So, guys, these 2 episodes, so good, right?
Yeah.
We're still on that
I
train.
got
Now,
worried, but
I-
ended with a banger.
Yeah, I know that the consensus is, and we'll float around the room and see what everybody else thinks. But I think the consensus is that we thought episode 5 was a bit of a lower point for the overall series, but they pulled it back up, in my opinion. I mean, this is one of those shows, in my opinion, where their worst quote unquote episode is still a great episode.
Sure.
So let's get some thoughts on that. Let's run a little bit about what happened in episode 5. I'm going to turn it over to Blythe to give us a little bit about episode 5, and then we will jump into discussion and then, get to the stuff that everybody wants us to talk about, really.
Sure. Yeah. So end of episode 4, we have the fight between Kamala and Cameron's mom. Her name escapes me at the moment. But Najma. But she stabs Kamala in the bangle, and we get a little glimpse of what we get this episode, and that's a full-on what seems to be time travel. Again, in the MCU, a little bit different than the time travel that we're used to seeing, especially with the rules kind of laid out in Endgame. But yeah, we see that the story that we keep hearing throughout the series about how her grandmother lost her great grandmother and her great grandfather, and then stars showed up and led the way back to her grandmother's parents. So we find out that that's Kamala. I think we all had an inkling about that was going to be the case. Yep. But yeah, just really good. The way it was shot, really good episode. I know we were last episode when we all met up, we were kind of like, is she there? Is she not there? But it looks like she did it. She went there.
Mm-hmm.
Self-fulfilling time loop.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I didn't really break any of them Endgame rules like you were talking about with the alternate timeline that broke free and all that. It was always meant to happen.
Mm-hmm. And we have the what is it? The Loki explanation, right? Of the Avengers did what they had to do because that's what needed to happen for the original timeline to keep flowing. So I think that this would be another one of those points in time that's something that needs to happen for the original universe's timeline to keep on flowing.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what I like is we learned a lot more about Aisha, who's the great grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all again had kind of an inkling that she was not really going to, break the veil and do all the things that the other clandestines wanted her to do. But now we're given an explanation as to why.
Yeah.
And so I'm still on board with Team Mom and Team Grandma too, because they're pretty great in this episode. So let's get some overall thoughts on episode 5. Kevin, how about you? And as always, let's hear about how Little Miss River liked it as well.
Well, River really liked it. She was really with episode 5. She was a little confused about what was going on. It's complete. It was a different pull away from what we're used to in the show. Episode 5 was an odd one for me because it was the end before the end. Like when it was over, I was like, really? Like they just completed like the storyline. Like what the heck? Where are we going from here? Does it make sense? And I was really kind of really torn on it. I'm glad what we got in the next episode. But yeah, as far as that episode go, it was the worst one to me. But because I think it was an episode of an entire episode of exposition. Here's all the answers to the first 4 episodes. Here they are. Like, and it was a lot. It wasn't spread out at all. And I think that's what the problem was in that episode.
I know another issue that we had, and I'm going to get Tyler's thoughts on it. Another issue that all of us seem to have is the rift seemed to get closed really rather easily. Like it's it's all this build up, like it's hard to open. They get it open and she just like zippers that thing up like nobody's business. So I know that's something we talked about. Tyler, you want to go ahead and share what are your thoughts and everybody else's thoughts? Because as always, listeners, we talk about all this stuff before we come on.
Episode 5 as a whole, I think Kevin nailed it. It was definitely the weakest one. It started out telling a great story. It's like, oh, cool. We got all that exposition and everything. We saw that, yes, indeed, she did go back. She helped her grandmother, and confirmed a lot of our theories. But it was like 15 minutes too much. Like they could have condensed that a little bit. Cool. You could show her sleeping in a field and him waking her up and stuff. we could have done without that. But that's just me. It was nice. It was pretty. But then when things, to me, after the whole past story was told and they come back into modern times, it was kind of like throwing you around the room all of a sudden. It was just like, hey, look over here, and then this, and then this, and then this, and show's over. And I was kind of like, what was that? It just seemed a little rushed. Understandably, now that we saw what they were trying to get to. But when the veil was opened, it was kind of like, okay, well, did that happen when she went back in time? Is that what that was? There was a couple little questions there, and then it's just like, all right, well, she turned to a pile of rubble. I'll touch it too, and then, but apparently she knew what was going to happen, what she had to do, and speaking Cameron's name out loud, sending whatever I'm guessing is some sort of Terrigen power mist deal, life force. I'm not sure. She sent that into Cameron when she touched the veil, and the veil said, "Okay, cool, 2 sacrifices, and I'm closing." That seemed a little simple.
I don't
that was kind of the big thing we were waiting for. The veil's gonna open, the Nord dimension's gonna consume Mars, and nope, we're good. Like, okay, well,
not 1 but 2 sacrifices. Yeah. Done.
That's it. Zipper that thing right up. So.
That's all the Nord dimension acts for.
Don't worry, I know how to close it.
But it was cool because we got to see the nice moment between the grandma and the mom, the daughter. We got to wrap all that up, and a lot of things they started to tie a little bit of a bow on some things. So that was nice, and then of course at the end with the I've been calling you Brian this whole time. I'm sorry. And Cameron just, oh, you like cars? And he saw the Tesla poster. I loved all that banter with Bruno in the end. It was great.
Which was
some
cool.
lightheartedness. And
it was cool because at that point, you're not really sure if he was just being a butthole or if he was actually just didn't really know his name. And then they confirmed, I was like, no, Cameron's not a terrible guy. He just he just didn't know. Yeah, wasn't paying attention to him, so he didn't know his name. I think this is hard, right? Because these shows, we have 6 episodes to do this in. If you go too long, then you run the risk of like what happened when they did all the Netflix shows, and then you get like 2 or 3 episodes in there that just seem like filler. And you're like, all right, get back to the point. So I wonder if it may have worked better if they wouldn't have done anything with the Nord dimension. Like, say what the clandestines are trying to do, explain what the Nord dimension is and what it means to our universe, but then that's it. And maybe leave it for a season 2 or for something else down the line. Because like you guys said, you open the rift, nothing happened, you close the rift, and now If they don't do
Mhm.
anything with the Nor dimension going forward,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just like some weird like subplot to just get the clandestines and Cameron like in the picture.
Yeah, I feel
So-
like you need 8 episodes, like at least
Yeah.
though, per series.
Yeah.
Just because it has felt like these writers are really trying to tell the story and give you some cool details,
Yeah.
put it together in a way, but they're restricted so much that you'll get 1 or 2 episodes where people are like, "Or what was that?" You know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just-
Just
Mhm.
maybe a couple extra episodes. I there's probably a lot of factors that I'm not.
Oh,
predicting.
sure. Yeah,
But-
there's.
You know, I think most people are feeling like these seasons are way too short.
Mhm.
Across the board on all the Marvel shows, it's the same thing. Oh my God, it's really good, really good. Oh, it's almost like, oh, we're playing all these intricate things, and then, oh no, we only have 1 episode left. Let me tie it all.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Just at least 1 or 2 episodes, and I mean, it was a great show, but it's just that episode 5 was really a lot.
Yeah.
And
Especially
on
what
that
we're dealing
note-
with now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into episode 6 then, because we
Can
pretty
we
much
say-
covered
we
everything we
say
talked
it?
about. No, we
No.
can't say it yet.
No,
All right.
not
All
yet.
We gotta
Jeez
wait. Gotta hold
Louise.
on.
I got things.
Okay. We're gonna jump into episode 6, which is called No Normal. And this, for a finale episode, this
No
was
more
great.
normal.
With
Yep.
everything that's thrown in there. And I would just like to say, listeners, we called it a couple episodes back. Mom made her new suit.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yay for that. Again, I'm back on board with Team Mom and Team Dad because they're just so great, especially in this episode. So let's go ahead and dive right into this one because there's a lot, and the boys will explode if we don't talk about that thing that you want us all to talk about. There is, I don't know if we could call the one a mid-credit scene because it's really just part of the
It's not.
episode.
People keep calling it
Yeah.
a post-credit scene. It's not a post-credit scene. It's
No,
part of
there
the
is a
show.
post-credit
There's
scene,
one
though.
post-credit scene.
But we'll talk about
Yeah.
that later.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
now,
there's
yeah,
a couple of great things there's a couple of great things that happen because we get a couple of shots that are straight from the comic books that are rather iconic Miss Marvel shots. We
Mhm.
also
Yeah.
get some stuff that's straight from the comic books that made at least me go yes and really
Right.
excited because I was like, she said the thing. And then a bunch of other stuff. So let's just jump right on in because we've got Cameron has powers now. He doesn't know what he's doing. Poor
Pretty much
he
out
and
of the
Bruno.
comic.
Yeah, straight out of the comic. Poor he and Bruno now are on the run because the Department of Damage Control has blown up the store trying to get to Cameron. And Kamala and Mom are back in the States from Karachi. They're back in with Dad and everybody. And I really loved the scene where she's trying to tell her family that she is
yeah.
the superhero, and they already know.
Yes, they know.
And so they're like,
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I love-
that's so amazing. It's
It's
very
such a
funny.
funny part because they
Like,
already
really?
paved the way for that in the earlier shows when they're saying, "Whoa, you can't tell one person and everybody." They
Yeah.
all, they already paved the way.
Yeah.
So what a great
Mhm.
scene.
Yeah, there's
Dad's
no
always
there's no
talking
secrets in the
speakerphone.
community.
No, clearly not. Clearly not. Which I
Speakerphone's
really
just so much
thought
more
was cute.
convenient.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really cute. But then, of course, everything takes a turn because nobody knows where Bruno is. They don't know where they are, and Cameron can't control those powers. So Mom gives Kamala her brand new suit, which looks really rad.
It's
I'm
ripped
so
right.
glad we got-
It's ripped right out of the comic.
Oh,
It's
straight from the
absolutely
comics.
beautiful.
On screen,
Yeah, it's-
it looked good, man.
It really did.
Yeah,
Yep,
they
straight
definitely
from the
knocked it out of the
comics.
park.
It's great. Yeah, this is a good one. And then so let's jump to what do we want to call it? Do we want to call it the final fight? Because what I thought was really interesting about this final quote unquote final fight, it's a fight a little bit between Kamala and Cameron, but also the two of them against the Department of Damage Control, but
Yeah.
it's also Cameron is not fighting Kamala. I mean, it's just there was a lot of crossing of the lines. There was no, except for maybe the Department of Damage Control, there was really no bad guy versus good guy situation in it. So, Blythe, did you have something you wanted to
just
bring
want
up on that?
before we jump into that fight, I just want to talk about the high school bit a little bit, because I had a lot of fun with that, with all the kids coming together, and then they make they make the plan, and they're all playing, all wearing the same thing, so they're getting around and stuff. But the one thing I did not like about it was when she was laying down the plan, and she's supposed to be like doing all of her little intricate drawings on the chalkboard. You ain't got time for that. I don't need shading in all these little pictures.
Yeah,
like
right?
when you look at that board by the end, it's like,
too.
yeah, that took you like 2 hours to do. Get out of here.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, that's a little.
Like I missed
We're in a show about superheroes, but
I was
that's
wondering,
where we
like,
had
she
to suspend
really
our
drawing a
disbelief.
mural? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I missed your art the last 2 episodes, but I didn't need it right here.
Yeah. No, I love the kids defending Cameron in the school kind of thing. That was
fun.
Really fun and great. And then, of course, so there's the fight that goes on all inside the high school with the damage control folks.
And I want to say, the high school, they showed that damage control has no qualms about just tackling a kid.
Shooting kids.
Oh, yeah.
They did when Bruno goes out there, starts dancing or whatever, and they just
yeah.
Like, wow.
I fully have to admit, and I may have been alone.
I mean, they were going to shoot him with a missile too. So
what I was really hoping would happen is that Kamala would take that big old hand she had grown on herself and just whop that lady. Like I just wanted her to yeet her across the parking lot. I'm like, just do it. But we didn't. Anyways, I'm jumping ahead to that. So yeah. What I also thought was really great in that scene is, unlike in the Avengers and unlike in Moon Knight and all this stuff where, they fight in secrecy almost. They're out there, they're putting it on TikTok, they're putting it on Instagram, and they're getting people to come to the school to help. Like they're calling on the community.
Always superpower.
Yeah, and it was really great because, and I mean, like, there was no qualms about people knowing that that's Kamala, because like her mom and dad are out there screaming and yelling for her. Right. And, like when dad's screaming beta, it's like, everybody's got to go, okay, well then that's obviously his kid. I mean, there was there was no attempt to hide her identity from the community that was trying to protect her, and she's trying to protect. I really liked it. It's almost that Spider-Man-y feel where he's like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's almost like she's your friendly neighborhood marvelous girl. So I dug that.
I was going to say it might have been because of that, but then I forgot that what happened at the end of No Way Home.
Yeah. So the fight scene itself outside of the high school, where we get, like, I guess we could say the big fight scene where she comes crashing through the window. Cameron is wreaking havoc, but also not being able to control his powers. And they're blasting her with stuff. What did we think of that? Because she says the catchphrase, and I was so happy. I'm going to hand it off to Blythe because he knows the part I loved.
So I actually don't, Courtney. I don't know.
Really?
I'm not familiar with her catchphrase. I missed it and I didn't.
Come on.
Hear it. So I apologize, all of our comic book fans out there, but I did not catch that one. And it also may have been that I was so enamored with us finally getting like stretchy arms and legs.
Yes. Yeah.
And that is her catchphrase. That's what led her into it when she says "embiggen." That's a catchphrase. That's her catchphrase.
Right on.
So when she said it, I knew what was coming, and I was like, yeah.
That was a good part.
It was 100% the best way they could have done it. We've talked about this plenty of times of why they changed the power set and what they're doing with her, and it's because of that. If you would have done that scene but made it so it just like it was supposed to be her body, it would have just looked. I mean, you could have done it, but it just wouldn't have looked good. But in this format, it looks beautiful, and I'm so glad that we got it because, again, ripped right out of the comic books, catchphrase and all, apparently.
Catchphrase and all, yeah, that is her catchphrase. And so when she said it, I was super happy. Tyler, what did you think? I know I think I might be the only one that knew the catchphrase. So that was
I
a
think you
me
were.
thing.
That was a cool moment, when she said it. I didn't realize I'm not as up on Miss Marvel, so I just when my subtitles on the screen, because I watched with subtitles, when it came across, I'm like, "It's big, and that's interesting," and then the whole thing happened. But yeah, no, it kind of feels like maybe Nadia is a little bit. She's kind of pulling some strings with Cameron the whole time when he's like, losing it a little bit. Like, I have to do
Yeah.
this, and he's trying to. Oh, I don't know if he's really set on opening the veil back up, or it
Well, and
just. There's
I
a
will
scene where you
say,
hear her in the background say Cameron
yes,
in that, I think in the alley when he first has like a little energy explosion or something.
Yep. I was going to
So
mention that. So
I
yeah,
was kind
you're
of
right.
like, is she really dead? Is her consciousness like kind of go with that power?
Well, she prayed. I didn't quite understand either. She prayed. She goes, "Protect my son," and then she jumped in to zip up the dimension, and then all of a sudden he has the mental breakthrough.
Everything leaves from her. So
Yeah.
she transferred her consciousness. I don't know. Hopefully that doesn't become a whole thing. But I mean, he's got his powers. Let's just keep it simple here. It's enough complicated stuff to follow right now.
And Tyler, I think you brought it up. We don't actually know what the power is. I mean, is it a clandestine power?
Right.
Is it a Terrigen mist? Because he is an Inhuman in the comics, but they never really. I mean, we know he's at least part clandestine because of his mother. We don't know who his father is. We never hear about who his father is, but we know that Najma is his mom and she is a clandestine. So is it a clandestine power? Is it an Inhuman power? What is it? Is it something that comes straight from the Noor? What is it? But we don't know. And we never really tell us what it is.
We'll have some thoughts
and
on
maybe
that
it's something in episode or season 2, or even in the Marvels, if he shows up in the Marvels, because I mean he's here now, so we're obviously going to get more of him, and he's with the Red Dagger, so the Red Dagger is actually going to be. We know we're going to get them back as
They're
well.
Still around.
So, and because he went there, so I'm really curious, and like, what are your thoughts? I mean, what do you guys think that Cameron's power set is? We know it's very similar to what Kamala's is, but it's not the same. And that's how it is in the comic books as well, is they're very similar, but they're not the same. So what do we think?
His looks more like, I know they're both kind of like crystallized, but like his looked more crystal. Like it didn't look like
more jagged.
Where hers, it looked more jagged. Like where hers is like there's hands and there's feet, and it's actually like an extension of her. With him, it's almost like he's shooting out crystals, like he can make forms and stuff, but it's not actually like a projection of him. It's a projection of something. Does that make sense? That's what I look like. It's very interesting power set that he has.
I have a feeling that they're going to play on that later. I think it's going to be kind of, we're not going to say it yet, but it's going to blend with something else that happened later.
We will talk about that in a minute.
That might come into play where they're actually going from, let's not say in humans and they have powers of this magnitude. We're gonna kind of let it all be one and the same. That whatever that was triggered something, and
So we'll hit a couple more things and then we will get to that. So go ahead, Blaze.
Oh no, I was going to say, do we want to talk about the post-credit scene before we jump into what comes before the post-credit scene?
There's
or do you have something else?
There's two things I'm going to touch on really quickly. And then we can talk about the post-credit scene. I thought it was adorable when she went over and landed on the car and said, "You guys okay?" And they said, "Yes, Miss Nightlight." She's like,
"Oh yeah,
thank you so much."
Yeah, the Department of Damage. Yeah.
Yeah, which leads into, I think, possibly one of my favorite scenes is when she's sitting on the roof and Dad comes out and sits with her and tells her what her name means.
Yep.
And she's so adorable. And Iman Vellani is so adorable in her delivery. She's like, "I share a name with Carol frickin' Danvers." And then we, of course, we get her name. And so she's not only, I mean, I really like the fact that she gets her suit from her mom. she gets her name from her dad. So it's like, because she's such a young character, it's really cute that she has the family to back her up. She's got the friends to back her up, and she's got the community to back her up.
Which
And
is the way
then
it should have ended.
yeah, I mean, it was a
That
really
whole
nice
thing.
way to tie it up. And then
Mhm.
she goes, and then it comes to the part where I told you it's like straight. It's very iconic where she is, she leaves dad and goes off to her thing. And then we see New York City in the background, and she is sitting
Sitting on a
on
lamppost.
she's sitting on a street lamp with her scarf
Right-
flowing in the wind,
Right
which
off
is
one of the
literally,
covers.
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pulled straight from her comic.
Well, another cool thing about that whole thing too is that it's like it's such a, I don't know the word, but it's completely the opposite of how the show started, where she's locked down, you're not allowed to go anywhere, we don't trust you, and everything else. To like, you know what, we trust you. You're an awesome superhero. Go do you. I'm, so proud of you, and I love that change there.
That whole
Yeah.
thing with the parents, really, I mean, that, because at the beginning, that's what put a sour taste in some of our mouths.
Yeah.
Some people's mouths.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was for me, I was like, the mom's a real B. The dad was just like this dad.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was
Mhm.
kind of cool from the get go for the most part. He was just a little,
Most dads
I don't-
are.
yeah, they are.
Mhm.
But no, I mean, the parents were it's like, wow, they're really hammered down. We figured, there's cultural differences there. She's
Mhm.
American born, growing up. There's going to be some strife. And I mean, they kind of accurately portrayed some of that, I suppose.
Mhm.
I can't speak firsthand, but
Moms love a bunch.
and then
It was
her
wonderful.
attitude, like her attitude with the parents and stuff. A lot of that, teenage just drama stuff with the parents that I've been through quite a
Mhm.
bit of, and stuff, so I get it. But to see all that come to this point where it's like, listen, we're just real protective and everything, but
Mhm.
we just saw clearly that you can handle yourself. You got some things going on. We're going to support you.
Mhm.
They wrapped that up in a way that they didn't do it like an immediate 180. Now you're like, oh, now the parent supporter. It was kind of a slow
It
drip
makes
Mhm.
through
sense.
the show.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
made
So-
sense.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the whole thing with the
Mhm.
grandma too. And,
That's
after
so-
that trip, I think
It was
that
a
helped
nice
lot.
build. Yeah.
That's one of the best things about this show is that it's not just Kamala's journey. It's the journey of her friends, her family, even up to their community. The community took
Mhm.
big steps in nominating or making Nakia part of the leadership
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
and everything like that. So it's just a huge journey for everyone involved. There's no wasted characters in this show. Everyone
yeah.
has a great
Mhm.
arc. That's not overwhelming to the characters. It's just, that's why
Mhm.
it's as good as a show as it is.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And
Hey, Tyler, keeper of our QR codes and so forth. Do we have
Yeah.
any for these 2 episodes that we haven't talked about yet?
well, it's funny that you say that because as you just said, there's no wasted characters, and in episode 6, they did not waste what you could have thought as a throwaway character. Episode 5, we didn't get any. It was pretty short and sweet. They had some things to show.
They didn't have a QR code in the 1900s.
No,
I
they
was gonna
didn't
say.
have
Like
the-
1942.
How
doesn't have
awesome would it have been? It's
The
like the
QR code on the
1930s. There's a
train.
big, right in the middle of
Yeah.
the train, just big
Just-
QR code.
Yeah, it is what it is. Actually, in the house behind him, no. In episode 6, we got a QR code in the gyro cart guy's cart. There, you look behind him. There's a
Ah.
QR code on the wall. It leads you to issue 19, which this episode pulled a whole lot from. So
Cool.
go ahead and check that out. Interestingly enough, too, though, in that cart, there's an inspection sticker behind him, and he's got an A rating, so good for him. I'll get lunch there, but it pointed out that this is happening in 2025.
Really?
This would put it past a lot of the things we just got. This would
Wow.
actually
Wow.
carry on.
Oh my God.
So
yeah, that
in
puts
the
us a
timeline.
whole like year ahead in the
That's
timeline.
Multiverse of Madness, Moon Knight, Hawkeye.
Those are all
It
24.
showed
Yeah.
what it showed.
Wow.
I think the inspection date, and it looked like a real fresh sticker. It showed inspection date was like April or something, so it'd be like springtime. Where Hawkeye was in what, wintertime, Christmas time.
Yeah.
Christmas.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's
Of the year
Very
before.
couple of
interesting.
months, before or after Hawkeye.
Yeah, so do with that information what you will.
All right. Let's talk about the two things that everybody wants to talk about. Let's go ahead and
should we let Kevin? He looked like he was gonna.
all right, Kevin. What happens? We're not talking about the end credits scene. We'll get to that next. This is the last scene of the episode before we get to end credits. Kevin, what happens in that moment
Okay, so let
that
me paint a
everybody is
picture.
talking about?
I'm watching it. I watched it in the morning, and I'm sitting there. I'm watching it.
The
I
sun
like
was
doing it.
coming up.
Yeah,
It was a light breeze.
And then all of a sudden, he said, you have a mutation. And I went, what? I'm looking around. I looked around. I was like, there's nobody I can tell. Like, nobody had seen it. I'm just sitting on it. Nobody. Oh, my God.
That's right, boys and girls.
Mutant.
We were wrong because we kept playing the Inhumans card. She is part Jinn and part mutant. And I believe
Now
connect me.
we
Correct
threw it
me if
out
I'm
there.
wrong, everybody.
We threw it out there, but we backed away from it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
backed away because we went to hit
Because that was outlandish. How could that have been the case?
And for those of you who didn't catch the musical reference that Kevin was talking about, in case you don't know, they played the 97 X-Men theme music, as he said it. The same theme music we hear in Multiverse of Madness when Professor X shows up. So I'm going to just admit, we said Inhumans, and we didn't even think of, I mean, we may have thought of mutants, but I know we were heavily on the Inhumans thing. So she's Jinn
I said it jokingly last episode.
And I think this officially marks, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, this officially marks the first official mention of mutants in the MCU. Now, arguments can be made that Wanda is a mutant, Quicksilver is a mutant.
It's debatable.
Monica is a mutant, but this is the first official moment of mutants in the MCU.
And in Black
as far
Widow,
as I'm concerned.
There, when Hopper was in prison, there was a guy, he was arm wrestling, and he made mention that he was a mutant of it was their version of
or Oso or something like that.
Orso, I think.
Yeah, but Ursa Major, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, which just means the bear. So yeah,
I think that a lot of people were speculating that was just in his head. You know,
sure.
Yeah, so. But I think this is the first official. This is a mutant. We have mutants now in the MCU, and personally, I think she's a great choice to start that off with.
Yeah.
And so it'll be really interesting to see where it goes from here.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of speculation after this about in terms of how we want the how we want the X-Men. But as far as I'm concerned, bring on the X-Men. They're coming now. Gimme.
It really was. It was a really cool way that they did it, because we got Xavier in Multiverse of Madness, but that's not the MCU universe.
It's not 616,
It's not 616. Neither is the MCU. But anyway, they could have done it anyway. They could have put Xavier in the MCU normal timeline, or introduced us to like a Cyclops or Wolverine or any of the mainline characters, and then that's how they would have been introduced. But for them to like soft seed it into Miss Marvel, like out of nowhere, out of left field.
Yep.
What you got, Kevin?
I absolutely love that, because this is exactly what I want them to do with Kang the Conqueror. Listen, we're going to bring mutants into our world. You can't just like, oh, here they are. Yeah. They've been here all along. Like, we could have had a Wolverine. We can still have all these characters because it's just one. or 2 or 3, they could hide easier. But like just like in the comics, there was something that happened in the X-Men universe. It was like a switch went off, and then they all started having mutations. But there was ones that were there before, but then it was like more so. And I love that it was brought just like this, where it was just like, hey, here's one. We don't hear about it for a little bit more, and then here's another one, and then you start hearing about more and more and more, because that's how it would be in modern society. You know what I mean? That's how it would happen until there was an explosion of it. So they could not have done this, in my opinion, a better way, because of one, the shock value. 2, it makes sense because we did not know how it was going to make sense, and 3, made an epic show even more epic. Like, what a great show. That at the beginning of the show, I was not excited about. And now we're talking about freaking mutants.
Right. They've come a long way.
It's
insane. I mean, we do have to point out the fact that Kevin was not looking forward to this show. And from episode 1, from episode 1, Kevin's like, "Did you guys see the episode? This is so good. This show's I love this show." I mean,
Kevin was the first person awake every week to watch this show before he left the house for work. Like, he was the first one of us to see it.
Yeah. I know there's speculation. Okay, go ahead, Tyler.
Real quick, I don't know, but when they're on the train, Bruno and Cameron, and they're going through the train. He's hobbling along, helping him. He says something about, we've got to get upstate. And upstate, I know they were heading to the school, so I think that was their plan. But upstate, from where they're at, Manchester.
Oh, no.
Could have been.
You might as well have just said, we got to get you to the school for gifted youngsters.
Well, they were going to the school. We got to get upstate. You know, it could have been like little something they were just throwing in there for the.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the mutants, and again, her being the first one they've actually officially said the word mutant. And I mean, we have Deadpool. Deadpool is now part of the MCU, and we could debate that. We have Colossus in the MCU, and we have Negasonic. And I think Kevin is the one that brought it up in the Marcos. We have Beast and everybody else from the Deadpool movies, but I'm not sure those are considered.
I
don't think those are actually really considered, even though Deadpool is now, they have said he is part of the MCU.
Sure.
I still think we're looking at, like there's thoughts that Quicksilver and Wanda are both mutants because, they get their powers from Ice Stone, blah, blah, blah. And it brings it out, but no one's ever said it before until right this minute.
Yeah.
And the very fact that they underscored that moment with the 97 X-Men theme.
I
know I have seen lots of things on TikTok where they're speculating, going, "Oh, that's not it. That's not it." Oh, no. They literally put.
Why would you put that?
Theme.
Why would you?
If you watch it twice, you can't deny it.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Literally. So everybody out there that I've seen on TikTok,
go
watch it again because you're missing it, kiddo.
It's actually
who's on
credits,
TikTok?
It goes through. It says X-Men 97 on the credits.
Yeah, I think they did it on purpose.
I think that the catalyst for all this, and we've talked about this, is it's going to be the after effects of the snap.
Yeah.
So Rocket says it in Endgame that when the snap happened, there was a burst of cosmic energy in which the universe had never seen before.
Yeah,
it's only happened twice, when he snapped his fingers to obliterate everything, and then when he snapped his fingers to get rid of the stones, and maybe when they brought everyone back. But anyway, you could say that Wanda was a mutant. You could say that Quicksilver were also mutants, and the same energy that came from that has affected the entire world is what affected them and brought out that and triggered the X gene. Right? I think we're going to see that somewhere along the line. Is that we're going to see, and I think that's what Damage Control is doing.
Yeah.
So Damage Control is going, and they're rounding up powered individuals, and that's where the next time we see Damage Control, we're going to see them talk about the X gene.
Damage Control. They have all that tech and everything. What if they end up building Sentinels?
They might. That may be
very possible that may be coming. Yeah.
Come on.
Well, and this is Tyler pointed it out about She-Hulk coming up, which the more I think about it now, the more I'm excited about it. But with She-Hulk coming up, didn't you say like their damage control is in the trailers?
So the facility they show that where they're keeping Abomination and all the same facility they took Cameron to.
Yeah, because you don't have a Department of Damage Control. Oh, we got another enhanced individual. Like, the way they said it at the beginning of the episode was like it was old hat. There's another one. Like this is
so
happening.
They've been collecting them. Yeah, they've been obviously been collecting everyone, and so that's very much I think what we're seeing in this, and it's just very exciting news for the MCU. Because now we're gonna get X-Men.
Eventually.
Officially X-Men. So it's really interesting.
I think
damage control is gonna be a source for a lot of the stuff we see going on with mutants in the X-Men. You could have
our new Shield.
Yeah. You could have Mr. Sinister be a scientist for damage control and do an experiment. That's a way you could introduce him. You could have the Department of Damage Control being part of the Weapon X program, and that's how we get introduced to Wolverine. There's so much that you can do with damage control now that we've seen that they're more than just a cleanup crew, because that's originally what damage control was in the comics, is they were just a cleanup crew for when heroes went and destroyed everything. They went back and built it up, but they're much more than that in this.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they come into play in the She-Hulk television show. Because She-Hulk is not a mutant. She gets her powers, well, in the comics, because we don't know exactly how it's going to occur in the show. But in the comics, she gets shot. She gets a blood transfusion from Bruce. The gamma radiated blood is given to her, and then there she goes. But the other thing is, we also know that one of the villains that she's going to be handling in the show is Titania. Titania also has super strength. She is physically a match.
Titania got her powers from Dr. Doom.
Yeah, so I mean that's the other thing that we're looking at in there, and there's still rumors going around, and that, well, obviously the Dr. Doom is coming because we've started to. There's rumors about Dr. Doom. We've seen Reed Richards. I know it was just a quickie moment, and Kevin's not over Wanda spaghettiing him. But they are giving us X-Men stuff. They are giving us Fantastic Four stuff. It's very interesting. I can't wait personally to see what's going to happen in She-Hulk, because I think Daredevil will show up as well, especially since they've announced that they will be doing a new season of Daredevil for Disney Plus with Charlie Cox back as Matt Murdock. So, I mean, there's a lot. They have a lot of good stuff that they're layering in, which leads me into the end credit scene of episode 6. Of all the cameos, I believe we called this cameo, but this is not what we thought was going to show up. I'm still mad we didn't get Lockjaw, but I'll take this cameo too. And what was that cameo, Blythe? Who did we get?
We got Kamala Khan just becoming Captain Marvel. Nothing more,
nothing
less.
No, Blythe will fight on this, but he's wrong. No, we got Carol Danvers, Brie Larson doing a quick cameo. They have switched places. The bracelet starts to glow. The bangle starts to glow. And she gets thrown back into the closet. And then out pops Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Man. And this is
or she turns into Captain Marvel. That's also
it's only solidifying my belief that this is MCU's version of the Nega Band.
Yes,
I know everybody's like, hey, there's got to be 2 of them though and stuff. It doesn't. This is the MCU doing what they do. This I'm picking this hill. I'm gonna die on it just for fun.
I'm not mad at it if that's what it is.
They found it on that blue arm.
They found it on a Kree arm.
Whatever. I mean, I think she switched places, which is what happens in the comics. Marvel and Homeboy switched places with the Nega Bands. Where was Captain Marvel? We don't know. Was she in the negative zone? Is that where Kamala is now?
I don't know. She has a different suit, so it's not her.
The Marvel.
Yeah, it's not her suit.
When everybody's knocked on the Carol last Davis? Little phase 4 or this iteration, this phase of the MCU has been, there's no direction. where it's going. This one episode painted a picture of like, this is where we're going. You don't quite see it yet, but there's starting to be a little bit of a pathway here. And I love that. You know what I mean?
If they go ahead.
I've got something to say about that because I was firmly on that train going into or coming out of Thor 4. I was like, I don't know what's happening in the MCU right now. It's making me mad because I'm so used to having a linear storyline, and that's what I love about the MCU. But I think it was one of the producers came out and said that people need to stop viewing this as the plot line moving forward into what's coming. This is all reactionary. And it's true. Even going down to what we were just talking about with the mutants, everything that's happening from starting with phase 4 until now has all been reactionary to Infinity War and Endgame. It's all the pieces being picked up from those two movies. And we're going to start seeing things happening that are going to move the storyline forward. But everything we've seen up till now, don't look for it. Stop looking for it because the seeds are there, but we're still dealing with this huge event that happened. I mean, and it's the biggest event in comic book movie history.
There's a celestial sticking out of the ocean now.
Exactly.
From the Eternals,
exactly. So it's just
got some things.
It's there's a few things going forward, but the main meat of it all is still reacting to all this going down. Like I said, even down to the mutants coming.
Yeah,
I'm going to keep looking for it.
No, Tyler, you keep looking for QR codes. That's what you're good at. That's what we've designated you for, is to find the QR codes.
If you'll look closely, behind the wall, right behind me here.
One other thing I will say about the end credits scene, and it just could be me and what I was thinking, but when the bangles started to pulse before she gets thrown back, it honestly to me looked very similar to Shang-Chi's 10 rings.
Sure.
So it's very possible that there are two similar kinds of tech. And I mean, the thing is we haven't found out what that bangle is. We don't know what the bangle is. It could still end up being Inhumans tech. It could be Kree tech. It could be Eternals tech. Because there was no definitive answer on, other than it being found by Aisha on the obviously a Kree arm. We don't know where that came from. But that's the exact same thing that we don't know where the 10 rings came from either.
Yeah. So we know they're sending a beacon.
They're absolutely sending a beacon. And obviously, since Kamala switched places with Carol Danvers, then there's something in there too that is sending something out into the universe.
Yeah.
Or the universes as well, because it was able to pull Carol and shoot Kamala to where Carol was. And so they've switched we're assuming they've switched exact places. We don't know where Kamala went. We just know now all of a sudden Captain Marvel is standing in Kamala's bedroom.
I think that's how we're going to open up into the Marvels, is going to be them trying to find Kamala, because if you noticed, when they switch places, Captain Marvel's not wearing, it's not like she's wearing a bangle. Like she found it and she put it on and then they switched places. They just switched places. And now she can assume that Kamala is where she was at, but there's no way of knowing. So I think that's how we're opening up, is they're going to be trying to track down and find where Kamala went.
They'll show her run out of her room, hit the hallway, pause a second, not know where she's at, and Carol Danvers going to pull the bangle out of her pocket and go, man, whoa. Yeah, who knows? Maybe she's got it on her ankle. It's an anklet. You know?
There you go.
Yep.
I don't think it's a throwaway line that they said that it takes two. You know, when they found that, when they showed that, they discovered it.
It takes two to open.
The priest, she said somebody told us we need both of them or whatever.
They needed both of them to open the thing. I don't think that was
a throwaway thing too.
Yeah.
Good catch. So let's go ahead and give our grades. let's do a grade for both episodes, and then let's do an overall grade, because that's what we do here on iHeartGeek. So I'm going to start with Kevin. Kevin, what are your grades for the episode, or grade for both episodes? Because we'll do as a twofer, and then tell me your grade for the show series.
Well, I mean, I really didn't like it that much. So, no,
understandably.
Yeah, episode 5. If we had to grade it, it was like a B minus. Episode 5, episode 6, though. I mean, it picked up the form. It was an A again. This whole show has been a solid A. I want to give it an A plus, but episode 5, I just didn't like it. You know, so I'm gonna stick with an A though. It seemed like it moved the entire MCU forward, which is wild. You know,
agreed.
But I thoroughly enjoyed this show, and I'm so happy that Marvel proved me wrong.
Excellent. Tyler, how about you? What is your grade for the episodes and grade for the series?
Well, started out, really didn't think it was going to be that good.
I think everybody thought that.
By the 6th episode, really nothing was going on. There's nothing happening.
Nothing happened.
I mean, no, man. Where we started with this, I'm surprised at how much I grew to like it as we went along. So that helped its grade a lot. The fifth episode, that's definitely probably going to be like a C minus for me.
Yeah.
But the 6th episode, that's definitely a solid B plus, for sure. And I'd say overall this show probably gets a solid B from me, because I mean it wasn't all the things I was hoping to see and waiting for. Like when I heard Moon Knight and I looked into Moon Knight, and after this and that, I'm like, man, I can't wait for this show. It wasn't one of those. I'm just kind of checked it out, and I ended up loving it. So it definitely scored some points with me for that. So yeah, I'll give it a solid B. We'll see where we go from here.
Excellent. Blythe, my fellow Marvel acolyte, what do you give them?
So episode 5 is probably a B, just for the pacing and the everything that we've kind of talked about. But I will say that every roller coaster has a slow incline before it drops the bomb, and that's where episode 6 came into play. And that one, it gives me an A, just because of what it did for the universe. The show overall, this is my top. This is my top
Really?
Disney Plus TV show.
Wow.
I think I've enjoyed a lot of the shows that we've gotten, but there's always been like some pretty solid gripes that I've had with them. But as far as like the acting, the writing, the story, what they did with it, the risks that they took with it, and not just being like, well, we have to do this because this is how the comic books did it. It just made it for all around. It's an A plus in my book, because it just, like you guys said, it was something that I was excited about it, because I was excited about Miss Marvel, and I thought the girl who is the actress who knocked it out of the park, I thought
Absolutely.
she looked.
I love her.
Yeah.
Right out the comic books. So I was excited for it, but not nearly as excited as I became when we started getting into it and then when it ended. So yeah, definitely an A plus for me.
I can respect the fact that you said they took risks. That was something that was commendable, because they could have stuck with a formula. They could have done this.
Sure.
And that. They definitely went outside the box with this one a bit.
Yeah.
And all the stuff we commented on the first half of the season with the color in the background, the color palettes and the lighting, and just the weird
the music,
kind of kooky things they did, and the animation, everything.
There's so much to grab from this.
They brought into it too.
So much.
Keep doing stuff like that. If you do it right, it's going to be beautiful.
Especially for a show that when they first showed her power set. So when we got like our first trailer showing her power set, the comic book communities flew off the handle with hate. Just didn't want anything to do with it. You're changing even the groups that are behind Miss Marvel. Disney's changing Miss Marvel to be this and that, and it doesn't matter. The comic at this point for the MCU going forward, the comic books, they matter, but they don't matter. You can do whatever you want at this point in the movies because the movie universe, despite what Kevin Feige says, is a completely different universe, in my opinion.
Excellent. So I am going to give episode 5 a B-, just like everybody else for the most part, because again, I agree the pacing was a little slow. It was a necessary episode, so I totally dug it. And but for the things that I had problems with, like the rift was easy to close, considering how much emphasis they put on it throughout the series. And that kind of stuff. So it was a B- for that. But I'm going to give an A+ to the finale because I loved everything that was in it. And there was actually a moment where I started to tear up. And I mean, it was pretty an emotional roller coaster for me. So I really loved it. And I agree. The little girl who plays Kamala is just a delight.
Yep.
And she has, if anything, she has a future. If it's the only thing she ever does, she has a future in the MCU. But I think we're going to see a lot more of her and a lot of other stuff too. She's just a delight.
Yeah.
She's a true delight. But you know what? I enjoyed all of the casting in this as well. So overall series, I'm going to give it an A, a very solid A. It's not my absolute favorite, like it is for Bly's, but WandaVision still holds that number 1 place in my heart. But it is pretty close to WandaVision as one of my favorite of the offerings thus far by Disney Plus. So I love it. And that, ladies and germs, is a show. Hey! So I want to say thank you to Tyler and Blythe and Kevin for joining me on this crazy Miss Marvel journey we've been on.
We got mutants.
The next Disney Plus mutants. Woohoo! Captain Marvel crossover. The next Disney Plus show that we're looking at is She-Hulk, and I think I'm probably the only one on the panel that's super excited about this.
I'm so excited.
But I love She-Hulk.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think everybody's actually we're all really excited for the next one. So that is all we have for Miss Marvel. We will see you guys at She-Hulk, which is up next for our Marvel TV show adventures. Thanks for joining us. Check us out on all of the socials. They're all there. You all know what they are. Go check them out. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Talk to us in the comments if you think we screwed up on everything or if we missed anything you want to talk about. Let us know. We love to hear from you guys. And that is Tyler and Kevin and Blythe. And I am Miss Geeky Page. Keep on geeking on, you guys.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.